Hello, you wonderful bunch. It's been far, far too long. I hope you're all well, guys. I hope you're enjoying the new orange, red Chronic Pain Club themed background now that we're doing more over on YouTube rather than on Twitch. Welcome in, everybody. It's been, like I say, too long. We had a summer break. For those of you that are keeping in touch elsewhere, well, no, I've done a bit of traveling, family holiday, things like that. So the Chronic Pain Club is back, refreshed, recharged with a shorter summer beard. and yeah, looking forward to sharing more conversations with you guys, hearing your stories of lived experience, and yeah, just generally getting back in the groove of things. We've got some awesome guests lined up over the next couple of months, guys. We are now booked up right until September. If you're one of the people that have asked to come on the show, and I've sort of got back to you to confirm that'll happen, don't worry, we'll be releasing dates for October soon. But I have a chronic illness, I have a young family. If I booked months and months and months in advance, you can guarantee I'd be sort of rearranging half of those appointments, sounds a bit formal, live shows, interviews, conversations, because, you know, things would happen, things would change. So yeah, so we're really well booked up, guys. Let's catch up with people in chat. Welcome in, Snuffle. I hope you're good. Welcome in, Nia. Great to see the mods are here. Ricky, I hope you're good. Still seems weird calling you Ricky on YouTube. Sean, welcome in. I hope you're good. I'm not sure we've seen you here before, Sean, so welcome in. Nice to see you. Welcome in, Petra, Snuffle. Have I missed anyone? My screen has refreshed whilst doing a bit of technical stuff. So if I missed anyone earlier on from another platform, let me know. If it is your first time here, guys, and don't know what the format is, essentially, this is the Chronic Pain Club. We exist to create a platform to share your stories, your lived experience, to basically, you know, there's only so many times I can share my stories. The whole point of this on a Sunday night is to amplify others and try and do some good with that, either by, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Encouraging, fostering peer support. I don't really know where I'm going with that. To help other people feel like they're not alone. For example, shared experiences, you know, help people in a lot of ways deal with what they're going through if they don't feel alone. But also to try and break down barriers, stigma, you know, try and progress things a little bit, forward the conversation. That's the whole point of why we're here on a Sunday night. And what we do is we interview a guest most weeks, not every week, but most weeks we'll interview a guest, and we'll listen to what they've got to say. We'll talk about it in chat. And then when the interview's over, we let our lovely guests get on with their Sunday evening. I'll come back on screen and then we'll answer all your questions and everything else. So if you are watching this either on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook or Twitter, please feel free to get involved in the chat. It is the heartbeat of the show. Obviously, we come on here with the guests and do the interviews, but really the whole point is to get people talking. So please do say hello and get involved in the chat. When the interview takes place, we take the chat off screen, so you won't see the conversation from other platforms, i.e. if you're on Facebook, you'll only see the comments, obviously, on Facebook. If you want to get involved with the chat throughout the show, I would strongly advise you watch us over on YouTube. You can see on screen at the minute, most of the people in chat have got the little YouTube logo next to their names, because that way, when I hide the chat, like so, during the interview, you will still be able to see the conversation because you'll be watching it on YouTube and you'll have the little chat screen going on there. So yeah, that's the way we do it here, guys. Please do give us your comments throughout the interview. Please do throw out your questions. The guest and myself don't acknowledge them live because it would throw them off if they were constantly looking at the chat coming in. But what I do is I feature the best bits along the bottom, one to help other people, you know, see those comments, get involved and everything else, but also it really helps people who watch this back. Most of our viewers watch the live show back, so if you want to, if this is not always convenient on a Sunday night, and I appreciate everyone's got really busy lives, there are basically 4 ways you can watch this show. You can watch it live like some of you are doing right now. When we finish and go offline, the entire recording, warts and all, so if I make any mistakes, they're there for the world to see. I always make mistakes. Will be up on those 4 platforms of mine: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. That's number 2. Number 3 is that a few weeks down the line, I snip the video, so you just get the interview, start and finish. None of this waffling community check-in stuff at the start or the end. And that goes on to form the main sort of Chronic Pain Club talk show podcast playlist on our YouTube channel. And then the 4th and final way is our podcast, which, you know, if I was like really slick, I'd probably have at some point here like a little button or something that would come up and tell you that you can go find the podcast. So basically that we put it out in a different order. We shuffle the stories up a little bit. So if there's like Psoriasis Awareness Month or something like that, we might feature more psoriasis stories on there. So we don't always follow the same order that we recorded on live on YouTube. But we will, but yeah, go listen there if you're walking a dog, driving to work, etc., etc. That's where you can also find the audio for a lot of these interviews. So how's everyone been? Snuffle, hope you guys enjoyed your well-deserved holiday. It was awesome, Snuffle. It was awesome, and it was very much needed. people think that you go, when I went to Singapore and everything, that you're going on a hollybob and don't understand that you're on a plane for 14 hours. I also have to drive 3 hours to Heathrow. So you're traveling for the best part of 24 hours. You sit in conferences and meetings for 3 days. And then if you're lucky, you get a bit of sightseeing on the last day and then you come home. And everyone thinks you had a holiday. I've had lots of messages like that over the last couple of months, which has been infuriating. How do I get to be an advocate and go on all these holidays? Like, there's one way to annoy Joel. That is the way to do it. That is the way to do it. So thank you, Stuffle. It was very much needed. It was awesome. And we also realised, me and Nia, being the busy people we are, it makes you feel terrible as a parent when you put it like this. It's the longest we've spent as a 3 since he was a baby, because you have to work and you send your kids to childcare and all that sort of thing. And he starts school in September. So yeah, that was the first week we've had together as a 3, like properly uninterrupted since he was probably a baby, which shows you how much we probably needed to take the foot off the pedal for a little bit and refocus. So here we are. Busy but good, thank you. That's good to hear, Sean. Try and look after yourself as best you can. I think we're having a few technical issues with our guest joining us tonight. So if you hear me waffle a little bit longer than normal, guys, you know why. But like I say, we had a month out, so let's take, we've got plenty to catch up on. That would absolutely kill me. Yeah, it wasn't good, Petra. But weirdly, I wasn't sore when I come back. It was more mental fatigue. I was expecting so much pain. And it wasn't. It was like mental fatigue, which if any of you have been seeing my latest video or been on my social medias lately will get where I'm coming from when I say I'm just taking the foot off for a bit. So we're going to focus on the Chronic Pain Club on Sunday nights because it's the highlight of my week. We're going to carry on with the podcast. We're going to carry on with the writing and stuff that I do, but we're not going to try and stream now 3 or 4 times a week over on Twitch. It's just not healthy. But what we are going to do is more one-off events. So you actually will be able to find me on the 5th. It's the Saturday the 5th of August. It is Saturday the 5th of August. I'll be streaming for 10 hours, just as he said. He's going to take his foot off the pedal. I'll be streaming 10 hours for NAS, the UK actual Spondyloarthritis charity. Playing on Minecraft server with you good folks. So there's going to be more of that sort of stuff. So rather than me trying to do 9, 10, 11 hours a week over on Twitch streaming games, we'll do more sort of all-day events like that sort of thing. That's the plan anyway. I had the most chaotic camping trip in Dorset on Friday, and I've seen the Barbie movie twice now. Is that through desire, like sheer love of the movie, Snuffle, or is that forced? I've worded that carefully. just interested, like, are you going to go for a 3rd time? Or is that, by choice or coincidence? Yeah, we did have a good time. Thank you. It's a great movie. Okay. We learn something about you every day, Snuffle. I didn't have you down as, Barbie and Ken movie kind of fan. What else have we got in chat? Guys, please say hello if you are new here and let us welcome you in. No choice has been enough. I do want to see the Oppenheimer film, but I don't really have any desire to see the Barbie film, I must confess. Yeah, do say hello, guys, if it's your first time here, so we can get to know you. We can welcome you in. I'm going to move my mic because anyone who's looking closely can probably see I'm a little bit shiny and sweaty by now. But in order to have my aircon on, I have to have my mic in. So bear with me 2 seconds. For the regulars here, you know what I'm going to ask you. Can you tell me in a second if you can hear my aircon on? I always double check because I don't want to ruin the audio. So please do tell me in about 10 seconds time if when I'm talking you can hear my aircon. I'd really appreciate it. So it looks like our guest is with us. So hopefully you don't have to endure too much more of me yapping, guys. Barbie especially, I'm sure it is Petra. But as somebody that grew up with 2 sisters and them lying around the house everywhere, I don't know if I can get over that. I don't know if I can get over that. Right, guys, can anyone hear any background noise just for my peace of mind? Are my dulcet Norfolk tones coming through crystal clear, or can you hear what sounds like a jet engine in the background? That's what I'm looking to. 2 seconds. I'm multitasking, guys. Yeah, sounds fine. Awesome. Not a pink kind of girl. Are you not, Petra? No. Dylan's favourite colour at the minute is pink. Everything's pink and purple at home. First time I had who would have thought we'd come back after a month off and spend the night talking about the Barbie film? There we go. There we go. Has anyone else got any news to share? Selby. I don't know if Selby's still with us. I call him Selby. Ricky, as he is on YouTube, in a very formal name. Are you okay? You've been very quiet of late in the community. And guys, if you want to talk to some of these people during the week in terms of peer support, we have that over in our Discord. I don't have the link to paste in chat, but I'm sure one of our regulars will kindly paste it in chat for me at some point. But yeah, head over to our Discord community where you can not only get involved with everybody here, but you can also, like I say, there's a support group there. We run gaming platforms we use as escapism from pain, things like that. And just generally get involved. But if you hear any stumbles tonight, guys, I've had a migraine all weekend. It's the first time I've had to rely on my medication for my migraines for a long, long while. So hopefully I'm fairly coherent. I feel fairly coherent. I had to go for a little power nap before this, so I feel good. My news is that I got my second year uni results. I did very well. That's awesome, Petra. And if you're saying you did very well, I'm going to take that as you did very, very well, because we all know what we're like. Thank you for sharing there, Cheeks. The Discord link is there, guys, in chat. So well done, Petra. Well done, Petra. I really appreciate it. Right, I'm just going to wait for Anne to get comfortable, and then I will bring them in. Yeah, that's great news. I love it when we share stuff like that, guys. I think it just adds our community is just like so much richer when we sort of those little like windows into what people are got going on in their lives, because often we focus on the condition or the pain and the negatives and the problems, and goodness knows I'm one for doing that. And then when we get those little good news stories, that makes it all worthwhile. All right, I'm trying to reply to a number of things here. Oh, by the way, guys, any of you that are here from our Twitch community, the issue with the server reboot and on Minecraft now is fixed. We fixed that over the weekend, so that should be a lot more stable. We've also got some news coming soon about potential updates and things like that. But thank you for everyone's patience while we had that issue going on. And typically it happened while I was away. So while I was in Italy and Singapore and everything else, of course, we had server issues when I wasn't around to fix it. All right, guys, who's ready to meet our guest? I think we've kept you waiting long enough, guys. So yeah, like I say, if it's your first time here, then what have I got going on here? Hang on a minute. Let me bring this chat in. Why is the chat overlay not working? Oh, well, doesn't matter. If it's your first time here, guys, we turn off the chat. So keep the chat going amongst yourselves. I will see it and I will highlight it as we go along. But let's bring in our guest. I'm just going to do a little test run to bring, let's bring Anne in before I do the introduction, just because I know they've had a couple of issues, technical issues, so I don't want to put them too much on the spot. Let's switch that around. Anne, can you see and hear me okay? Anne, can you hear us okay? Anne, can you hear us? We can see you, Anne. I just don't think we can hear you at the moment. Could you say something for us to see if that comes through? Okay. Oh, no, we can't, I'm afraid. Let me see. I don't think there's anything I can do my end. It looks like everything's working on yours. Yeah, you can hear me okay, I take it? Yeah. Is there any settings on your device? Is there any settings on your device you can do to turn your microphone on? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot there. What we'll do, guys, just to save Anne the pressure of if you carry on trying to get that to work, and I will see on my audio bar when we've got audio coming through. So if you just keep chatting away as you're trying to fix that. So yeah, guys, bear with us while we get this right. Like I say every time, we're bringing in people every single week. Some people are sort of you know, going really out their way or out their comfort zone to do this as well. So we're always really grateful. Technical issues happen. I can talk for England, so that's not an issue. That's really not an issue. So yeah, guys, if you want to just keep the chat going, and then we'll see if Anne's just dropped out. She's going to drop back in to see if we can fix the mic issue, but we can see her nice and clearly, and she could clearly hear us. So we'll just hopefully see if we can get the audio sorted. So yeah, sorry for the big build up, guys, for nothing, but I had a feeling there was something not quite right there, which is why normally I'd do the big intro and then we'd bring the guest in, like pop on screen, trying to be all sort of professional. And but I had a feeling that wasn't going to go quite right, which is why we'd done the little test run. I'm glad we did, because my intro would have been wasted, and then you'd all had to hear it twice. You'd all had to hear it twice. So anyone else, while we're waiting, anyone else got anything else to share in the community, guys? Because like I say, the whole point of the Chronic Pain Club is to be as much of a place for you guys as it is for the guest. The guest shares their story, but the reason we turn up week in, week out is for the community that we build around it. So please do share your stories, share your experiences. Let us know if it's a good week, bad week. You looking forward to your Monday? Are you dreading it? How your weekend's been? What you've been up to this weekend? Tech issues are annoying. They are stuffle. They're very annoying, and sometimes they're completely out of your control. Like, we've not had one where we haven't found a workaround yet, including the famous giraffe one where he joined us from the back of a taxi in Pakistan, and we still managed to get a 5-minute interview after a lot of work. Like, if we can make that work, we can make anything work. But unfortunately, yeah, sometimes we are at the mercy of this could all look shiny my end, but obviously we can't help what the internet does or what's going on in somebody's home or somebody's personal device. Or was it when Amanda Green joined us? I think her laptop battery ran out in the middle of the interview, and then we had like impromptu dancing on stream until we filled the gap. But we can fill it. It's fine. It's fine. It's not an issue. But welcome back, guys, for anyone who's rejoining us after the summer break. I really do appreciate it. We've got some awesome guests lined up. And also, if you keep an eye on our YouTube channel under the live tab or on our Facebook page, just go to Joel vs. Arthritis, Joel vs. Arthritis. We've started putting the events up in advance, so you can start to get a flavour of who's coming up. Previously, I'd always done it where I'd advertise it a couple of days before because, well, mainly it's to protect our guests. We're interviewing people with long-term health conditions. I didn't want to put too much pressure on people when we do that. And then if they had to rearrange, because I always make it really clear with our guests that they can rearrange. That is absolutely cool because ultimately we're sharing stories of people living with these health challenges. It would be absurd if I added to that pressure. But now what we've realized is when we put them up a little bit earlier, they get a lot more interaction and people will ask more questions and I get a few more DMs and everything else. So to do our sort of guests a bit more justice, then we're putting them up a little bit earlier. So do head over to the Facebook page or look on the live tab on this YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube to see some of the ones. So we've got next week Chiara's rejoining us. You may remember Chiara from World Psoriasis Day last year. She's a psoriasis patient advocate from Indonesia. She is also the founder of Psoriasis Indonesia. I was recently with her in Singapore, where she spoke at the IFPA Forum, speaks beautifully. But instead of her story of psoriasis, which we've covered before, we're going to go more into another health condition that she has that I think we probably touched upon last October, but we're going to be going into much more depth this time around. So that should be really good. Where, long story short, she basically out of nowhere became paralyzed and had to work back through that. I think it's transverse myelitis. I might have got the name wrong, but I think off the top of my head, that's what the condition is. And yeah, she basically had to go through months of physio and everything to get her mobility back. So that's going to be a really fascinating one to hear. And like I say, she's one of the best advocates or storytellers out there. So that always worth a listen. We've got Petra. I don't know. Can I say that you're joining us now? I just have. just have Petra will be joining us as well. So I very much look forward to hearing Petra's experience with pain. And obviously, those of you that are in our Discord, Twitch community already know a little bit about Petra, but very much look forward to bringing that onto a bigger stage. That story, and yeah, just another person that speaks brilliantly, which is going to make my life a lot easier. And we'll also be we'll be featuring another member of the Gibbons family. So those of you that were with us when Kevin joined us to talk about his MS, we've got his brother joining us to talk about Crohn's disease. So that'll be a really interesting one as well. You just did, I know. The thing is, my mouth is always about 3 steps ahead of my brain, Petra. So I don't know. I don't know why why I do live stuff, because one of these days I'm going to just get myself in trouble. It's inevitable. Um, Anne hasn't come back to join us yet, so but we'll give them we'll give them until the top of the hour if needed. Ultimately, like I say, we are a chronic illness awareness channel. These things happen. Those of you that are long time watchers of the show will know we've had numerous issues in the past. We've had people that have had to go in the middle because of whatever it is they're living with, and that's cool. It doesn't. We're here for how people want to use us, and we're only as reliable as our condition could be on any given day. So there's no issue there. Same goes for you, Petra, as well. If you're having a bad day, don't worry about it. I'll be the easiest person to ever cancel with. I was going to make a joke then about past girlfriends, but I thought I better not. No backing out now, Petra. But yeah, so we got lots of awesome people. I'm also working hard to start getting more organizations. So guys, if you're either watching this live or watching us back, and you represent or are involved with an organization, I would love to have more patient organizations on here sharing their service. Not this, when I say services, it makes it sound like a business, but you know what I mean. Sharing what they do to help their community, sharing how people can lean on them or get involved, or any particular project. We're a startup talk show. We can't offer, we'd like to get to a point where we can offer our guests money and everything else, and maybe one day that will happen. And by the way, those of you that are subscribing as members on our YouTube channel, I really appreciate it. It's not so common as what we get on YouTube, where people subscribe and we get a couple of pounds a month. I know on YouTube that's not done as often, but if you go to our membership tab, you might even see a button under this video that says join. If you click on that, you can see that there's some membership options where it doesn't really give you a great deal. I'm only one man. I don't have an army of people behind me. It's just me and Nia plodding along, and but it supports the channel in a very small way. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so we'd like to get more organisations on. We're also looking at more opportunities to sort of like try and grow what we're doing here. So expect some more like interviews with maybe medical people from the medical community, something I've done in person at events like EADV last year, but nothing we've done on a Sunday evening to get people coming and joining us. So that would be awesome. And I'd love to have more people from the medical community, people from pharma, although there's a whole world of ethics issues there. But you know what I mean. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to expand this out to try and have a bigger impact, and reach more people, and also benefit our growing community. Because ultimately, you guys, the same names we see in chat week in, week out, turn up to hear what we've got to say. I want to try and be as valuable a resource for you guys as we can. And I can't do that with my little simple brain. I need experts to come in and share that information. So that's what we're looking to do. We're set up pain cafes and everything. That's awesome. Sean, you already, just from our interactions on LinkedIn, you already feel like somebody I should be getting on here. So send me a message after this and I will send you the link. I don't think I need to do a lot of vetting with you. So send me the link and we'll bring you on to talk about that. What else? Have I missed anything out of chat? I don't think I have. I just went off on one there. See, this is why I can fill time, because I go into, I'm like, when you drive and you don't know where the last 20 miles went, that's kind of what happens to me when I live stream, which I'm not so sure is a good thing or not. But yeah. Right, guys, we'll give it another sort of 10 minutes. If Anne's unable to come back in. So basically, long story short, as Anne couldn't get the microphone to work, I told her in chat, "Oh, it's okay. You're muted when you're in the sort of green room, the virtual green room we have here. And then when I bring people in, it unmutes them." So I assumed that was it. But obviously, it's an issue on their end in terms of getting the mic to work. So not a lot we can do about that, guys. It's one of those things. we will make it happen again if it doesn't happen tonight. I already feel terrible because poor old Anne has had to reschedule once before. Can I just say that when I had to reschedule Anne, I'd come back from Italy. I was really burnt out. I'd gone far too into the red doing EULAR that year or this year. And I reached out to him. You could not have got a nicer person or lovelier comments than what I got from Anne when I had to reschedule our original broadcast. So I feel very terrible that they're having technical issues now because I owe them big time after having to reschedule on them last time. See, I'm an absolute hypocrite. I talk about how the guests can cancel because they're chronic illness. Somehow my brain doesn't allow that to apply to me, but I know you lot always tell me off about it. Unless I'm the driver. Unless I'm the driver. Yeah, no, it's awesome that we're getting more of that pain community, especially here in the UK, involved, guys. I really do appreciate it because obviously with my background in arthritis and psoriasis and mental health and men's mental health, a lot of the show up till a sort of certain point was that because obviously people on my Instagram or whatever, when I do a sort of call out for guests, are going to be from that sort of background. So it's awesome that we're now starting to really drill down into some of the pain stuff, which is why I'm really keen to hear what Anne's got to say. Anne's got some really interesting perspectives on managing with pain, some stuff you guys might have heard me talk about in the past after I went to pain management clinics and things like that. And moving away from sort of like the medication side, although there's always a place for that, in terms of like how I wasn't coping with it and how I could help myself a little bit more. But I'm not going to say any more of that just in case Anne's able to rejoin us. Yeah, she was so lovely, Petra, Sean, just absolutely lovely. I felt so guilty because I'd done it quite late notice as well. And but yeah, that's what this is why we're always going to have this disclaimer. It doesn't matter how big this show gets. This is me trying to be confident. The likes of Snuffle will know I'm not. No matter how big this show gets, we need to keep that sort of golden rule that if people don't feel comfortable, if they've got something going on related to their sort of health or whatever, then that's fine. We'll do it another day. I can send you links to my stuff tomorrow if you like. Please do, Sean. Please do, and we'll get that booked in. We'll get that booked in. And if that was aimed at Petra, then I apologise. Just realised that might have been aimed for Petra. But yeah, please do, myself included. That'd be great. And we'll get that in. So, like I say, we got a couple of dates available at the end of September. If not, we're now looking at October. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other guests we've got. We've got lots of people. I've got a couple of people as well that like really big names in the arthritis space. If you go on Instagram, should be joining us soon before the end of the year as well. So I've got lots of promises. We've just got to sort diaries out though. Anyone who joined us when we interviewed Zoe Clark of NAS, she's local to me. We've known each other for a while, but it took us about a year to get a date where we could both do and where our conditions would both allow us to do it. So yeah, that was it happened. It happens. Also, guys, so the latest video that went up on the YouTube channel that's been edited, so you don't have to listen to all the waffle before or after the interview, was my chat with Katie Pierres. So go check that out. I found that one really fun. I watched that back in the editing and realized we need to get her back just like as part of like some sort of social. And the other thing I was supposed to say much earlier that I missed off my list, as if I prepare for this, is that I'm looking to do a Chronic Pain Club special show where we have caregivers on. No lived experience in terms of firsthand, but I want caregivers on, maybe with a bit of peer pressure, the likes of Snuffle and others. We haven't got the Gibbons clan here because they would be able to help me, and Suzuki. But with a bit of peer pressure, we might be able to get Nia Cheeks to agree to that. Even though that'd be really uncomfortable, me interviewing my wife. I feel like we need to offer her the opportunity to share her experience, given how much she does behind the scenes whilst dealing with my massive mood swings, living in pain. But yeah, I'd like to get like a panel of maybe 2 or 3 caregivers where I basically just throw questions out and we have them all up on screen and they just chat about it. Just chat about, what it's like, supporting people. And also what I'd like to get some perspective about what people need to know in terms of what caregivers need. Because my big thing this year, whenever I've gone to EULAR and Singapore and places like that, is why are we not creating resources for caregivers? You go to all the big, I'll talk about arthritis because that's my experience. You go to all the big arthritis charities and look how hard you have to go digging on websites to find resources that are aimed specifically at the caregivers. It's just not enough of it done. We need to fix that. We need to do more, particularly when it comes to pain and mental health, because I'm sure Nia Cheeks would tell you if they came on the show that probably 90% of supporting me isn't the fact that I have pain. There's not a lot you can do about that. It's what it does to my mental health, my depression, my mood, my ability to be a father, my ability to work, our financial security. That's that has the impact in terms of living with chronic pain, and that's where our caregivers support network, those closest to us, pick up most of the slack. It certainly isn't our medical professionals that are catching us. I've got first-hand experience of going into a rheumatologist's office and crying to say I'm about to lose my job because of my condition, and there was no support. There was no offer to help with my mental health. I was clearly depressed. Everything I had to do was self-refer, or our caregivers have to point us in those directions. So we really do need to do more. And I'm fortunate enough to have this little tiny platform. And if I can use it to try and start that conversation, then I will. So I'd love to do a caregivers panel, so hopefully Nia as a plus one on that. I'll do a call to action on LinkedIn and Instagram and that as well, and see what we get. But I think that'd be really interesting. For those of you who have been with us a long time, remember we done a panel discussion on living with as high risk during COVID, and that was really popular. You can go and find that over on the podcast. So if you go look over there and search down our little list, just search Joel versus Arthritis wherever you listen, you will see that there was a special one we done there, and that was really good. Just to let me just sort of set it up and let people just talk about it and listen was awesome. Um, we'll send you see this story living with me through 25 years of my opioid oblivion and nearly 6 years med free. Yeah, that'd be really awesome. And Sean, there's also a potential. I don't obviously know how open people are to coming on the show. Wouldn't it be awesome as well, guys, if we had a show that had a couple, the person with the lived experience and the caregiver? Like that would be amazing, and I'm pretty sure we'd all be in tears by the end of it. But if any of that applies to you guys, or would be something you'd be interested in, why don't we aim for that? Why don't we do two shows? One is a panel of caregivers, and one is the sort of the two sides of the coin. And the beauty of that is I can clip the hell out of that. I can take that video and I can turn it into a podcast, and I can shove it in people's faces. So it's not just about the sort of 20 people, 50 people that might watch live on the night. It's what we can do with that information and that powerful sort of message afterwards. I've been to 90% at Josh. Yeah, exactly that, Nia. And you still wouldn't today. You still wouldn't today. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the thing you have, like in terms of pediatric rheumatology, which I know happens in other areas as well. When I was a kid with arthritis, you get all of that support. Everyone's talking to your parents. Your parents are getting all that support. You turn 18 and you drop off a cliff. You absolutely drop off a cliff. Your parents are gone. You're expected to go to appointments alone. There's one chair in the room instead of three, and nobody's supporting you. Nobody's asking the caregivers if they need support. Nobody's asking who your caregivers are. I could have been completely alone at 18 at university, and sometimes I was, in terms of how I was isolated. I was in a different city. My family was still around, obviously. But you drop off a cliff, and it's wrong. It's really wrong. It's really wrong. I said when I went to the pain clinic that it could have been very useful for my partner to come along. Yeah, totally, Petra. I was the same. I've spent tens and tens of hours at the pain clinic, and they've been amazing. They totally changed my life, my way of thinking. People think that's quite a strong thing to say, but it generally has. Like, and Neil will be the first to say, like, I'm a work in progress. I'm still broken. I don't know, people don't like me using that term, but I still feel like I'm broken compared to the person I was before the pain. But my way of managing it and dealing with it, the reason I'm still got a career today and I'm still able to afford the bills to appear here on a Sunday night in front of you guys, is because that got me through that period in a way that didn't involve, making me more and more sedated. But yeah, never had. I suppose it's good that there was a session, Petra. But like you say, there should be more involvement. I know it's a bit of a dangerous one with that. With like, you got to be careful, like you don't get someone who's too overempowering, or what happens if you see that the caregiver might be part of the problem. I know that you investigate a lot of deep stuff with the pain management stuff. So I can see that side of it, because I volunteer for my local pain clinic, where I come in and talk to new people and try and get them to stay the course and that. But yeah, it's a delicate one, but there should be more options. Let's just say holistic, exactly that near. It's almost like this person listens to all of my constant talk 24/7 about advocacy. At the pain cafes, we'll have family carers. That's really important. Yeah, it really is, Sean. It really is. Really is. Oh, sorry, Irene, I missed your comment. And welcome in. I'm not sure we've spoken before. If we have, I've had a migraine all weekend. It feels like someone's let off a grenade in my head, so my memory isn't great. I feel very guilty when in intense pain and the worries I cause to my husband. Yeah, totally, Irene. And you're in good company here. That is why we do this conversation, because whether we've got the guest or not, the guest is there to help. We want to amplify somebody else's experience. But we also are here to share these experiences amongst each other. So, guys in chat, please feel free to sort of talk with Irene and answer some of that, and talk that through. I'm sure they'd really appreciate it. I can see Anne's back in the waiting room. Anne, is your microphone fixed? Can you get a thumbs up or not? I can bring you back. I'll bring you back on screen. I just don't want to put you on the spot if you're still having technical issues. Let's see if we can hear Anne, guys.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey!
No worth sticking around for.
Oh.
I think what we're going to do this time, Anne, I'm going to leave the chat on screen, because some of the guys have been having some really good conversations to support each other. So as long as it's not going to distract you,
Not at all.
I'll try the first time leaving it on screen, because I think
it's probably better than listening to me anyway, because I'm in
very
such
much doubt that.
tizzy wizzy.
Are you good to go, or do you need more time? Because
No, I'm
forever.
good to go. Thank you. That's brilliant. Okay. Sorry, brilliant. Everybody, for being such a pain.
It's not a problem. Like I say, we're here regardless. I would talk to myself, even if there's just one person watching it, for that, and I hope that it helps somebody. So you haven't inconvenienced anyone. We're here. So basically what we do the interview, and after you go, I stick around for as long as people have stuff to say. Sometimes I'm off straight away, other times we're here for a bit longer. So yeah, it's not a problem at all. Right, I'm going to leave a very short gap here, and then I'll do my introduction, and we can get stuck in if you're ready.
Yep, absolutely.
Brilliant. So tonight, I'm thrilled to be joined by a guest who has created the most buzz before a show than we've ever seen here before on the Chronic Pain Club talk show. I've lost count how many people have messaged me to say what a great sort of asset to the show it'll be, or what a great perspective this lady has on pain. And how they can't wait to hear me sort of discuss these topics with her. So without further ado, welcome lived experience trainer, Live Well with Pain team member, and one of the brilliant people behind the Footsteps Festival, Ann Livingstone. Ann, it's great to finally have you join us. Welcome in.
Well, it said skills, not pills, and this is obviously a skill I need to learn. Obviously. Oh, no, dear.
I say trust me, we've had all sorts on this show, so nothing phases me by this point. So I'm glad you finally got your issue sorted. And also, I should probably say at this point to the people watching this back or listening to this back, thank you as well for being so lovely when I had to cancel our original conversation. It was by far the most supportive sort of conversation over sort of cancelling plans I think I've probably ever had. So yeah, thank you for being so lovely with that. I appreciate it.
Well, we all have our moments, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is living with chronic pain, life is never boring. It might be challenging, but it's never boring.
Yeah, no, that is very true. That is certainly one way I look at that. So I suppose before we sort of get stuck into some of your sort of perspectives and the way you manage, do you want to maybe give us, because I know you live, I believe, with multiple conditions. Yeah. Do you want to maybe, with whatever you're comfortable with, tell us a little bit about those, or what that sort of, how that developed before we get stuck into how you sort of then manage the pain?
Yeah, okay. Well, I suppose I had lots of incidences growing up and whatever, due to poor eyesight and a few other issues. And so I was constantly in and out of hospital or having broken arms or whatever. And I was very sporty. And as well as doing things on the ground, I also rode horses. So I was often from a horse onto the ground, a bit of a bang, sometimes an arm or a leg in plaster or whatever. So I think I grew up with a reasonable amount of pain and discomfort. But I think that looking back now, when it really became an issue was back in the early 80s, when I couldn't stop hurting. And not only that, I was incredibly weary, but I was going through, like we do, marriage breakup and all sorts of issues. But in the end, I was really lucky and saw a GP who diagnosed me with ME, which is now CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. And that was really what started what I call my pain journey. And then since then, I've put a few things to it as well, like fibromyalgia. I've got osteoarthritis and spinal stenosis. And 5 years ago, I decided to get up from the sofa like you do, to go to the kitchen, fell and broke the 3 bones in my ankle. So now my foot is joined to my leg with a plate and screws and whatever. And also, it's quite incredible. I've got a screw that comes out on my on the inside of my ankle bone, so you can actually feel the head of the screw.
Oh,
and that's the pivot from which my foot moves, which has meant that I can't do lots of walking and those sorts of things. So I suppose I would say that my chronic pain, as we now call it, started in the early 80s. Yeah. And since then, I've done pain management courses and had lots of sort of bits and pieces, with physio and things like that. And but I'm now at a different place.
So I suppose before we get into that different place, because I know that's the bit everybody wants to hear you talk about, is like, is there anything you want to tell us about, like how you managed or coped or didn't cope before that point? Because I know from my personal experience, for me to appreciate how there was another way, I had to unfortunately go a different path for a while. So is there anything there you want to sort of share with us?
Yeah, I think I was diagnosed with what they call it. They called it constant pain then, and they put it down to things like stress or depression, or I was going through too much. And but I think that in those days, and I do say in those days because I do think we've moved very quickly away from this, is the only thing really I was offered was sorry, I've just got to do something, otherwise we're going to lose contact yet again. Nightmare, isn't it? Is
we're very well versed in batteries running out on here. Don't worry, it's happened before.
Pain,
it won't be the last.
There we are. It was I was given painkillers, mm-hmm. And every time I went back to the doctor to say they're not working, they gave me more and more and more and more and more, and to the extent that I became really quite poorly. And they said to me that if I continued, I'd end up with a stoma bag because my bowel was so damaged. So I think that, and I don't think it was unusual, and I don't think it's worth sort of laying blame at anybody's door, because I think that that's what was being done. That was what they thought you had to do, the medics and the clinicians. And I don't hold any of them responsible for what went on. But what I think I realised is when I was hospitalised and I was given, first of all, the one of the guys came up from the dispensary to tell me they wouldn't dispense the medication I was on, or all of it. They couldn't believe I was on that cocktail, but they said that it was against hospital policy to for health and safe health and safety. those sorts of things. So I couldn't get the medication that I had been getting from my doctor, and they said they'd write to my doctor and explain that this was actually doing me a lot of harm. But I think it was while I was in hospital, and I was in hospital for a while, it did make me wonder what was going on. And surely if I continued like this, would I be dead before very long? And also I'd got grandchildren, and I think that for me was an inspiration. I wanted to be around. I wanted to see my kids. I wanted to see my children all settled. So there were little bits of things keep coming in. It wasn't any really one big major thing, apart from the fact I didn't want to have a stoma bag. But I often wonder whether they said that to me just to frighten me, to think about doing something else. Yeah, and I remember to a certain extent, I know that my life was being in bed, struggling to get up, not having the energy to get dressed, getting downstairs, sitting or lying on the sofa, and then when I'd had enough, I'd go back to bed. And that was my life. My children tell me now that my skin was very grey, my eyes were very dull, and I couldn't follow a conversation. I had no social life. But at the time, you're in such an opiate phase or haze or whatever it is, that you don't even know that that's what's going on. You do not know that you're existing and not living.
You can't see it another way. And then I suppose that's
that help?
Yeah, no, totally. And then that's where, like we were talking before you joined us, about the importance of caregivers and those around us. And
I can't hear you now.
Oh, could you not? Guys, let us know in chat if you can hear me at home. Everything looks okay on my end. Anne might have just muted something on theirs. Bear with me a second, guys. I'll keep talking to Anne can hear me when she comes through. All clear. Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate it. Can you hear me yet, Anne?
Have we lost contact?
No, I can. Let me just put something in chat for Anne.
I can't hear you, Lee.
2 seconds, guys.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you fine. We can hear you fine, Anne. Can you hear me yet? So I think the audience can hear everyone.
Can you put your thumbs up if you can hear me?
Yeah, we can all hear you.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Right, 2 seconds.
So do you want me to just keep waffling on?
You could try. You could try.
I've got no sound from you now.
Let me see what I could do. 2 seconds, guys. Let me just bring Anne back in and see if that. Anne, can you hear us yet? No, I think it's going to be on Anne's end.
So shall I tell you about my skills?
Yeah, go for it.
If you can hear me, put your thumb up.
Yeah, let's go for it. We'll just, guys, if it's all right for you, we'll just freestyle it.
Well, I went off to a pain management clinic, and that didn't really help, because it was really back in, as I say, the early 1980s, and they just kept saying more and more pills, more and more pills. If they're not working, go back to your doctor. In fact, I think the one thing they did do is I did get a copy of one of the very early pain toolkits by Pete Moore. And that was really interesting, because he'd obviously found a different way other than just medication. But about 3 or 4 years later, I was offered an online mindfulness course through our pain people, the pain service here in Somerset, and it was brilliant. because what it did do is it made me stop and think. It gave me some time in my head to think about other things other than my pain. So that was a bit of a you know, like sort of a step. Then so that was a step forward. So then I was invited to a pain management fitness group. So I thought, oh, well, that'll sound good. So off I go. But of course, they hadn't taken into consideration that I'd got chronic fatigue syndrome. So, of course, I had post-exertional malaise and I had the most massive flare. So it had been like one step forward and about 6 back. So that was a bit of a problem. And then, of course, you have that, you've done the 6 weeks or whatever, you get discharged and there's nothing. There's just this incredible void. So it was me and the opiates, and we were quite good friends, as I say, until I got hospitalized. So I was beginning to think that and it was forced upon me by being so poorly. So I then talked to my GP, who said, well, what we need to do, because the hospital have said, is I need to decrease your reliance on these opiates. So that was my first skill. My first skill was lowering the amount of medication, and that was really challenging, and I cannot underestimate how challenging it is. And I was an absolute horrible person to live with, and when I say horrible, I mean I was an absolute bitch. He said that I was argumentative, I was intolerant, I had my mood swings, he said, were absolutely diabolical. And I think that that's something when we are talking about tapering, is it's not just the person coming off the medication, it affects all of the family and everything else like that, and really your whole life. And I don't think that is probably explained enough, and it certainly wasn't in my case. So that was my first skill. So that continued for a while, and then I just sort of was going along, getting a few more diagnosis and more pain, but knowing that I couldn't rely on the medication. And then the pandemic came. So my change of attitude from skills to pills is quite recent. So the pandemic came, and here in Somerset, they did a call out for people to make scrubs. And some people on here will have already heard my story. I have a sewing machine. I can sew. I hadn't sewn for 15 plus, maybe longer years, but I used to be quite competent. So I thought, well, there's a need. So I said, oh, I can do 1 or 2 scrubs. But of course, there was a real need. And it wasn't just the hospitals, it was the hospices, it was the care homes, it was the doctor's surgeries. Everyone wanted huge amounts of scrubs and laundry bags so that they could take off everything, put it in a bag and potter off. They could all go down to the laundry, so we had to number them or put names on them. While doing it, I just thought I really needed to let the nursing staff and the clinicians and everyone involved really know how grateful I was. So on everything I made, I put something like, if it was going to NHS, I'd embroider an NHS hero on it. It was really personal for me because I'd lost a cousin in the first wave, because he had diabetes and he went into a coma and didn't recover. And also my grandson, who was working in the day theatres and as a healthcare assistant, offered to work on the COVID wards because he was young, fit, healthy, and he didn't have any dependents or whatever. Off he went to work on the COVID ward. So I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm going to be working for that. So the next skill was getting back to my sewing machine and having a purpose. And I thought, and now looking back, it was the purpose, it was that skill of relearning to have a purpose in life that was most important. So that went from 1 or 2 a week to the fact I was churning out so many, and I had so much support. I'm sure most of you know Strictly Come Dancing, and one of the dressmakers on that, I had gone to a couple of sewing sessions with her, and she became my mentor in doing them. So anytime I had a problem, so instead of doing lovely sort of dresses for people, she was absolutely churning out so many sets of scrubs. So that was that skill. Then after that, because it came quite quickly on top of it, I was contacted through Twitter by Louise Truan from Footsteps Festival. She'd seen some of my bits and pieces on the on Twitter about pain and being in pain and and asked me would I be interested in joining a group who were putting on sessions during the lockdown on whatever people in pain who needed to really have some connection with people because they were isolated. So I said, well, I don't really think I've got much to offer, but yes, okay, I'll come along. Well, that changed my life in such a big way. And the skills I learned there, it was really a bit of reskilling. It was a bit of learning to communicate again. I had to learn some social media skills, as you've seen tonight. I'm not really very good at it all, but anyway. So that was my next skill. My next skill was learning this new world of social media and having meetings online, and this is sort of like the way we had to communicate and get to know people and offer whatever we could. So that was my next skill. And they are skills because you're learning or you're relearning. It's like, you know, when you learn to ride a bike and then you don't ride a bike for maybe 30 years and you get on the bike and you're very wobbly and sometimes you fall off and whatever. So it was very much that relearning some skills I already knew and sort of tooling up with new skills. And then from that has come the work that I'm doing with Live Well with Pain as a lived experience trainer, which has been so illuminating. I've learned so much from not only the other lived experience trainers, but the clinicians, and also from the delegates that come along on the training courses, because they want to know how they can help people with chronic pain. So the questions and the their viewpoints have been amazing, and I have learned so much, and that is reskilling me in other things that I'm doing as well. So that comes down to, through Footsteps, I was asked if I would be interested in helping to run a weekly session called Footsteps Festival Create and Chat. So I thought, well, yes, because I'm pretty creative. I sew, I knit, I do a bit of crochet. I like all things. I like tactile. I'm very tactile. I like to touch things, and I like art, music. So it quite appealed to me. And that has been, for my skill set of having things that help me manage my pain has been phenomenal. I have met some wonderful people like Petra, who's on here today, and her crochet corner. In fact, you know, sometimes in life you meet people along the way, and Petra's one of those, because when we first started the Create and Chat, we did it in an evening, and in fact sometimes Petra was the only person that would turn up. So I have a lot to thank her, because without her it probably would have folded, but she gave me the inspiration to know that it was needed. It was something that we could do. So we changed it to a lunchtime, and it's been really good. And I've learned other skills, but I've had to learn to manage people online, so you don't have that face to face. I've had to learn to organize online, and sometimes in isolation, whereas if you're in an office or you've got people around you, you can sort of say, oh, what do you think of this? But you don't always have that. But that has been, for me, if you like, the biggest learning of my chronic pain, because what it did do is I used to get so caught up in the sessions or whatever. We'd get to the end of the hour, or an hour and a half as they often run on to, and I had not thought about my pain once. So I knew that there was something here that we could build on. And so we run on a Wednesday, the Create and Chat, which is all sorts of, sometimes we just bring along our own projects and we sit there and we chat and we put the world to rights. Other times we have one of the group will take the lead and introduce something. And so I'm learning new skills all the time with regards to creativity. Then the other thing is that from that, we are now running one on a Tuesday evening for people who like doodling. We have within our group a certified Zentangle teacher who's just had to retire through ill health. And so she runs this for us on a Tuesday evening, and it's brilliant, because that is something that you really get lost in, because you get very lost in the process. Because when you're doing this sort of doodling or tangling or Zentangling or whatever you like to call it, there are no mistakes. You never do anything wrong. Whatever you do, it's your piece of work. So there's no judgment. And so it's just absolutely brilliant, because everyone is a success. Everyone's a winner. And without fail, we know how much it's appreciated. People sometimes come and they say, I've just come to say hello. I'm feeling really fed up. I'm in pain. I don't want to do this. And we all say to them, oh, just stay and have a chat with us. And they're still there at the end. And they always say, I feel better. So we know we don't have to have any research. We know that it works. But what makes it work, I think, is the peer support, the camaraderie, and there's no judgment. We all know we've got chronic pain. We all know life can be challenging. We all know that lots of people might not believe us and those sorts of things. We don't have to go through any of that explanation. So it's not just the fact that we're doing something, it's all that other stuff that comes with it through being part of a group. It was once described as being part of a tribe, and I know lots of people don't like that word, but I don't. There's something about there's a power about being part of a group that becomes an entity centered around something. And I noticed something I read of yours recently, Joel, when you said you haven't got a hobby or whatever. I think that's so important if you've got something like chronic pain. So be warned, I'm pulling you in. You're going to have to come to one of our sessions. That's just to tell you now, okay? And that's because what you get back from everyone around you and everyone in the group is so powerful. As I say, I only have sort of like 3 rules. One is you are never unkind to each other. You never sit in judgment of anyone. And it's a bit like, you know, when you go to Ibiza, things stay in Ibiza. Not that I've been to Ibiza, but you know, that saying. And you can say whatever you like in our chats or in our groups, Facebook or Messenger or whatever, and it stays there. And it just seems to work. And that's one of the biggest skills. And the other thing is I think I'm 74. I don't mind telling you all. And I think one of the biggest skills I've learned is that you never stop learning skills. And I'd like to do a shout out to somebody I think who also is on here, Sean, because it's his little phrase, skills, not pills, that I copy. And I know that started with a GP from Cornwall, which is where Sean's from, and a guy here in Somerset, where they did some teaching to clinicians. And I do know that it's now part of the social subscriber phraseology, skills not pills. But it was Sean who introduced me to this a while ago, and I just it seemed to click in my mind that that's what I was doing. I was accumulating this set of skills that were going into my pain management toolbox in order for me to be allowed to self-manage my pain as best I can. And it's also, and the other thing I think is that doing the Live Well with Pain courses on quite a regular basis and going through the 10 footsteps, which we do, if you know, and I really do, if you've got chronic pain, I really do recommend people look up Live Well with Pain, their 10 footsteps, because you go through each of the footsteps. You know, one is acceptance, one is managing moods, another one is sleep. And what that does do is that I'm constantly being able to hang another little skill that allows me to manage that. And in all of what was going on, was one of the things that I was offered was I have insomnia, and I was offered the opportunity to do a sleep course with Sleep Station. And that has definitely changed my life, because I now know that there are two types of tiredness. There's my fatigue from my chronic fatigue, and there's tired from being tired and weary from overdoing it or whatever. I had never known that. So I now have a set of skills that means I can manage those two in a different way, which makes my life more complete. Yes. And the other one, the last one I'll bleat on about tonight, and then you can all have your ears can all have a rest, is well-being, our general well-being. And I think that a long time ago, I read an article by somebody called Betson Corkill about therapeutic knitting, which really it sort of chimed a bell inside my head. And over the years, Betson and I, our paths have crossed. And she leads an online Tai Chi session, which I do. And that, more than anything, has taught me all sorts of things. One is, it's okay to be me. I'm fine. That skill of accepting me as I am has been my most difficult throughout my whole life. So that has been a really big hurdle. She also has helped me manage the skills I need as a carer. I'm a carer for my partner who has a serious mental health problem and failing eyesight, which has, I really and truly, and it sounds really big-headed and arrogant, really, but it happens to be the truth. I am the only thing between him living with me here at home and being sectioned most of the time. So it's quite a big responsibility. But what Betson taught me was that I am constantly in a state of high vigilance, which affects my breathing, which affects everything. It also affects my brain, because I'm in this high state, which means that my brain only sees danger and obviously thinks it's coming from the pain or whatever. So the pain level goes up. And so the skill I've learned through doing the Tai Chi with Betson is that we can actually control quite a lot of what goes on with regards to our pain levels by the way that we think and the way that we respond and react to situations. So that's another one. And then the other thing is I've recently, with Ann Parkinson of Unity Therapy, I've just completed an 8-week course. I'm just going to read it here. Creating a healing path. I can never remember what it's called. And that was really about compassion and acceptance. And I think we get so wrapped up in the things that we need to manage our pain, we forget that actually there are other things that need to be managed as well. Yeah. That if we didn't have the pain, we would need them to be managed, because life is stressful. Life isn't this wonderful straight path, you know. I know with pain we have the flares and ups and downs or whatever, but in life, people, that's what's most people's lives like now. So the Tai Chi and the creating a healing path are things that would benefit me if I didn't have the pain. Put them into the others with all the other skills that I've been managing to learn, then yeah, it's quite powerful. So they're my skills. The sleep one is, as I say, was a revelation to me, and I now believe, and I'm a bit passionate about this, because I believe sleep is the cornerstone of everything. Because if you're tired, how can you self-manage your pain? If you're, you know, if you can't sleep at night and you're lying awake and you're in pain, what sort of start is that to the next day? And you go through the next day, you know, thinking, oh my goodness, will I be able to sleep tonight? Will the pain be too much? And it's that constant circle of, so I believe, and this is just my point of view, that sleep was really, really important. And as I say, that I cannot thank Footsteps Festival or Live Well with Pain. All my group members from my groups that I do with Create and Chat, they are the most amazing group of people, and the progress they have made with their own ability to self-manage their pain has been phenomenal. And I've just met some wonderful people. You know, being in pain is not pleasant, but it's made absolutely more pleasant by some of the wonderful people you meet along the way, including you, Joel. I'll just, put that in for you, because you've been a revelation to me, and it's been a joy communicating with you. And this week, seeing the beautiful photos of you and your little boy. He is an absolute gorgeous little chappie. Beautiful smile, and obviously he's had a whale of a time with his mum and dad, which has been lovely. And I've just been lucky. I mean, I've been able to go down to Cornwall to talk to the in a pain cafe that has been mainly driven forward by Sean Jennings, and meeting the people there that are trying to help themselves with their self-management of pain. There's still such a lot to be done, but we're all working towards the same end, aren't we? Making life so much better and more enjoyable for us in spite of the pain, and doing the best we can. So that is my story, really, and that's why I really believe that we need to constantly be scanning the environment for skills that we can acquire and learn in order to help us with our self-management of pain and our symptoms, to make life the best life we can in the circumstances.
I know you can't hear me.
I still can't hear you, but I saw the clap, so
thank you. But I think just for our audience that are listening, it's almost good that Anne couldn't hear me, because I'd have been interrupting through all of that, San. Brilliant. So Anne, I will let you go. I'll wave goodbye. So hopefully you know.
I can't hear you. You've got no sound from you. Oops, seems like one of your streams is having connection issues. Stand by. We are trying to sort it out. That's what it's come up on my screen.
It's fine. We can all hear you, Anne. It's not a problem.
IT is very good when it works.
Yes. So we'll see you. We'll let you go from that point. I appreciate you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to my story. And most of you know how to contact me if you need to. If not, Joel will give my details on. Thank you so much. Sorry I was late to the party.
Fine, it's fine. Bye-bye. Guys, thank you so much for tolerating the technical issues we had there. I don't know what was going on that end, because you guys could obviously see and hear us both, but for whatever reason Anne couldn't hear me. I think that was just fantastic, and I think also it's an absolute demonstration of how powerful Anne's story is, and also how brilliant she is at delivering it, that she did all of that without any interaction with me. Just filled half an hour, 40 minutes with no issues whatsoever. So like I say, it's almost a good thing, I think, that she couldn't hear me, because I would have been just saying here and 100% and yes all the way through that, because so many shared experiences there, particularly around the sleep one, like Nia Cheeks, I don't know if they're still with us, but they will know 100%. If I don't sleep one night, that is when my ability to cope with pain is gone. My resilience is gone. That resilience sort of fuel tank, whatever way you want to sort of wrap it around, is gone. And then I can't cope. It's also when then my mental health becomes an issue. I don't struggle with my mental health when I'm just in pain. I don't mean just in pain to make it sound sort of like trivial. But if my sleep is affected, or those other life things around me are not in place, then that's when your ability to cope with pain goes out of the window. But that was amazing that Anne could just rattle that off without any interaction with me. Guys, I will make sure I edit that one pretty quickly so that it doesn't just stay up as the full live stream with all of the various interruptions, because we'll still get a really good podcast episode out of that where we can just have Anne sharing all of that. I'll cut out all of the disruptions that we had, and hopefully that really helps somebody. And yeah, sounds like I've got a new group to go and attend. But so many lovely points in there, guys. I hope that really helped somebody out there, and just to sort of show that you're not alone in those experiences. Like even me, that spends all of my time talking about this stuff and traveling to talk about this stuff, learn so much from Anne, and more also, like, I think the really valuable thing for me is that hearing you know, peer support helps me as much as it does you guys in chat. You know, just hearing somebody else talk about how that, you know, sleep can impact their pain, or how, you know, social prescribing can make bigger difference than any painkiller could. And it's not for everyone. We know that. And not everybody's also ready to have that conversation. You know, I was conditioned by my doctors from a young age. I've been in permanent pain for a while. I've been in chronic pain since I was a kid. And whenever I was flaring and I would reach out to my doctors, the first thing they would say all the way right up till 2020 was, keep taking your painkillers. Are you taking your painkillers? No, we'll keep taking your painkillers. There was no conversation about what was causing the extra pain, or what was going on in my life that might mean I wasn't able to cope with my pain as well. You know, nobody was asking about family, relationships, your career, and all of these things bleed into your ability to manage pain. And as Anne said, they're life events that everybody has to deal with. But when you're in permanent pain, what's really important to understand is that those things are the things that affect your ability to cope with it. And that's then when the mental health starts going spiraling down and everything else. So they're really important conversations to have. But like we said at the top of the show with Petra and Nia and everything else, you guys aren't invited as caregivers to join us. You guys aren't asked how you're coping. And that's where we've got to do real work. You know, for as long as my rheumatologists, dermatologists, and neurologists don't ask me, because I'm going to talk about my personal experience, other departments and areas might be better. For as long as those guys are not asking me about how I'm feeling or what's going on in my world beyond the pain or beyond the rash, we've got so much work to do, you know, and we need to keep having these conversations. But it's people power. You know, the more people like Anne and myself and others, and it sounds like Sean, that I can't wait to hear your story, Sean, that are sort of getting enlightened to these experiences and sharing those to try and help others. You know, we could drag people with us. Unfortunately, again, we're conditioned. You know, I always saw my doctor as my father figure, and I didn't ask questions. I didn't answer back. I didn't offer a different perspective. I didn't put my hand up and say that this bit actually is more important to me than that bit that you keep asking me about. We're sort of conditioned, aren't we, for it to be a one-way thing. But I think in terms of pain management, this is an area where we really can drag them kicking and screaming in the other direction. And showing how that can work. You know, we know that the pain clinics get it, we know that the therapists get it, but we've still got a bit of work to do with the specialists. Thank you, Joe. I'm gonna have to shoot. I'll contact you. No worries, Sean. Thank you so much for joining us for the first time. Irene, thank you so much for hanging out with us for the first time tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do hit the follow or subscribe button, guys, wherever you're watching. It might seem like a really trivial thing that everybody on YouTube says, but when we're doing really niche things on a Sunday night, talking about really niche experiences, it helps other people find us. The whole algorithm thing, they look at the other channels that you follow, they realize that we fall into that category, and hopefully we can reach more people and help them. I'm not sure if I'm liking the red and orange background. I feel like it's making me look very like camouflaged here with my beetroot face. Let me know if you want me to go back to the blue and purple, guys. I was trying to do themes. I was trying to be too clever, and now I just realized I'm sitting here looking like a strawberry. But Snuffle said, thanks, Anne. Incredible review. It really was, Snuffle. It really was. Thank you for tolerating the issues, guys. It certainly was worth it just to hear Anne's experiences. Punky said, thanks for speaking to us, Anne. Somebody who seems to continue to hit the nail on the head. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Punky. Absolutely. What I will do, guys, I will get all of the links, things like the Footsteps Festival, the links to the clubs and things that Anne talked about. I will put all of those in the show notes to the final video. And when I say final video, just to clarify, the minute we go offline, it puts the whole live stream up, warts and all. You'll see all the technical issues start to finish. But what you see in the Chronic Pain Club playlist on this YouTube channel is the interview only. I top and tail it. So on that video, you will see all of the links of things that we talked about tonight on that description. It could take a little bit of while. You know, again, I'm living with these conditions myself. You'll notice that we still haven't done that for some videos a couple of months ago, but we're getting through it slowly. So bear with us and let us know in the comments section of the YouTube channel, guys. If there's a particular video you want to see, if there's a particular guest you want to see, use that community tab. I'd really like us to start using that community tab on the channel. There's more of a chat room like we have the conversations on Facebook. They're not really happening yet on YouTube, apart from when we're live. So please feel free to use that community tab on the channel, and we can have more of those conversations. You'll see. hour-long interview of two doctors. Awesome. We'll check that out, Sean. We'll check that out. Right, guys, I'm probably going to call it a night there because I feel like I've earned my money tonight with the technical issues. Not only did I riff for the first half hour when it would normally be 10 minutes, I also managed to do a completely one-way interview with just nods, smiles, and thumbs up, which is a first for me. But like we always do on this channel, we don't shirk a challenge. And I think we all got what we needed to get from that conversation, albeit sort of very much one way, but Anne did brilliantly. I'll put all the links, like I say, in the edited video, guys, in a few weeks' time. Keep an ear out on podcast as well, because that's one that definitely will bring up the order, because I think it's important to get that in the podcast feed as well. Thanks, guys. Like I say, if you're part of the Twitch crew, I'm taking a bit of a break from Twitch streaming, but you can find me on the 5th of August from midday until 10 o'clock at night, doing a 10-hour stream to raise awareness and money for NAS, the UK AS charity. So check that out on August the 5th. And until next time, guys, I suppose I'll probably see you next Sunday, where I'll be joined by Chiara, who will be sharing their transverse myelitis story and how they overcame paralysis to go on and be the amazing advocate that they are today. So I hope you look forward to that, guys. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.